The only difference between this week and last week is that we're actually going to be posting radiology charges. All right, now last week we posted durable medical equipment, but this week we're going to be posting radiology charges. So what we have in session 8 is there is a recording of a previous session 8 orientation that I'd like for you to make a note of, that you have to look at this, because it explains some details about posting services, radiology services. All right. So this week, whereas last week we did durable medical equipment, this week what we're going to be posting are radiology services. So we're going to be posting the same routine. What we're going to do is follow the checklist. As a matter of fact, you can actually look at both of these videos. Before I get back to that, I just wanted to remind everybody that if you're ever in doubt about what to do and where to start, it's really important the first thing that you should do is to refer to the checklist of activities. This is a way that I have in the course itself. This is a way that I think works to keep you organized and to keep your thinking aligned and in order, to make sure that every single thing that's on the checklist you do and you don't miss anything. One of the main reasons I've done this is that because essentially you don't have to register for the Evolve website, of course. Even if you're new, you don't have to do this. That was in the past tense. That was in the past when students were new that I had them do that. But if you follow all of these steps, beginning with opening the folder name files for completing simulation playground activities right here, and here's another one. One of these file folders has demographics and insurance information, and the other ones has super bills. Okay, so if you open the files, number 1, okay, access the appointment schedule in session 8 files and follow instructions for creating an appointment for each patient under Hidden Cities 3. Now this is a point. If you are not new, if this is not your first session in the virtual externship, you're not required to make appointments. So make a note of that. You don't have to make appointments every single time, only for the new students in the internship. Okay, the second one, and the second thing I'd like for you to note is that, let's see, 2 weeks ago we did Hidden City 1, and last week we did Hidden Cities 2. So Hidden Cities 1 was a dermatology clinic. Hidden Cities 2 was a durable medical equipment supplier, again giving you experience and exposure to different types of providers. This week we're going to enter radiology charges. All right, let's see. It says Hidden Cities in the appointments file. So access the appointment schedule for creating an appointment for Hidden Cities 3. Again, you don't necessarily have to do that unless you just want practice making appointments or unless this is your first module. Next, enter patient demographics and insurance information on the files for completing simulation playground activity folder, and this would be, if you don't make an appointment, this would be demographics and insurance information. Make a note here that in these files are the demographics for patients for completing your simulation demographics and insurance information for session 8. You will note that demographics and insurance information are contained in one file, one continuous file, all patients rather than individual files. However, your assignment should be submitted as individual PDFs, and I will show you what I'm talking about here. One file, Hidden Cities 3. We're going to open it up. And as you can see here, what you have are all the patients that you're going to be entering, all in one file. So you can open them up and enter them. And as I always suggest, at the same time you have these opened, what I would do is I would also open up, as a reference, I would open up the super bills. This is just my suggestion because that way you're not going back and forth. The super bills for the same patients that you're entering demographics are in this file, Files for Completing Simulation Playground Activities, Super Bills, and Explanation of Benefits. And as I note here, the first file contains super bills for all Hidden Cities 3 patients, and they're all radiology. Okay? The second file is a 2-page explanation of benefits that has all the patients billed. So this time I made it easier by not having you open up all these different explanations of benefits, but instead 2 things are different. One of them, well, this was different last time, but one of them is that all of the demographics are on one sheet, and the second thing is that the explanation of benefits is one file. So I'd like to show you this as an example. And once I open this up, I'm also going to show you some key points about entering payments. So here are the super bills, and again, when you enter the demographics, I would have the super bills open just as a matter of habit, because sometimes in referencing the sometimes you actually do have to reference the super bills for certain things that you're doing in demographics, but sometimes you don't. The habit that I like the students to get into is actually having all of the files that you're going to be working with, and let me quickly go to the externship. The habit that I'd like the students to be into is actually accessing all the files that you have that you're going to be working with and have them open just for general reference. The same way that I have them on the screen is the way that you can open them so that you're able to, on one screen, access different tabs as you may need to go back and forth. I'm going to go back now. What I'm also going to be making available to you, and this is a key document that you'll need, what I'm also going to make available to you, if you haven't downloaded it from the previous week, is I am going to make sure that the fee schedule for Hidden Cities that you see, that you actually use, let's see, this fee schedule, I'm actually going to move it, a copy of this, to session 8, mainly because this is, remember, what you have to remember is that even though in the Simulation Playground and SimChart for the Medical Office, which I'm going to open up right now, in SimChart for the Medical Office, you have a fee schedule for Walden Martin Clinic. And as mentioned before, and as in one of the things that has been discussed before, because we're combining resources, we're using SimChart for the Medical Office, specifically the Simulation Playground within SimChart for the Medical Office is what we're using. And that fee schedule is connected to a mock clinic called Walden Martin. However, for your purposes of combining resources from the outside with the Simulation Playground, we're actually going to be using the fee schedule for Hidden Cities 3, or for Hidden Cities Clinic, all right? And so this is where the fee schedule for Hidden Cities Clinic is where you would get all of your, I'm going to go, as I open more windows, the computer gets slower, but as a demonstration here, let's see. For session 7, it's not in session 8 yet, but as soon as we're done here, I'm going to actually copy this folder and move it to session 8. But the fee schedule that you're going to be using, which I'm downloading now, let's see where, here it is, Hidden Cities fee schedule, are the fees that you will enter when you're entering charges. You'll use this fee schedule again. And again, it's going to be different from the fee schedule that you see. And I would definitely have this up if you need it. I would just, as a routine, open up all the files on separate tabs as you may need to reference them. And here is the fee schedule for Hidden Cities. It has the durable medical equipment that you did last time. It also has the radiology codes that you're going to be using for the super bills that you're going to be entering. So for example, for the super bill for the first patient whose last name is Gage, what we have, oh, I'm sorry, Carolyn Childs is the first patient. What we have for a radiology, we have a $317 charge total. And these charges are related to x-rays, okay, radiology of the left and right knee. And this is the CPT code. And the fee for that CPT code is scheduled. Where is the fee? This is interesting. Oh, no, I'm on the super bill. I'm sorry. The fee schedule, sorry about that. The fee schedule for this code of 73560 will be found here. 73560 is $65. Okay, so in this case, since she had two of them, you multiply 65 times 2. In addition, she had a bilateral mammogram, 77067, and that code 77067 is, where is it? Right here is 187. And so you would, the way when you're entering the charges, of course, you would enter the charges based on the fees that are here in the fee schedule, and it should come up, it should end up, the end result should be the same as you have here. And this again is what you enter when you're creating your super bill. Now, along the lines of creating the super bill, in SimChart, there are two, the super bill and explanation of benefits. And I'll just need just a minute to get in. Mine looks different from yours, as I always point out. Simulation Playground. Return to previous session. And some of you may have noticed that when you go into the part of the exercise that you actually have to post charges, you'll get a sign that comes up or a message that comes up that indicates the patient hasn't been fully registered. If you notice that, what that means is that you have to go back to demographics and complete the registration. Okay? I don't need to do I'm not going to do a walkthrough of that, but that's, by now, this is probably something that you've discovered. So, as you can see, let's go to coding and billing, because I'd like to point a couple of things out. One of them, let's try this patient. This is the one that I like to experiment with. At the stage in which we're making a super bill, I wanted to point out that in addition to you putting the diagnosis codes, this is one reason why I personally like having all of the documents that I'm using up. So say Z1231. I'm not going to walk through the whole super bill because I don't want to take up your time, and by now most of you know what the routine is. And if you don't know, you need to let me know. I also walked through in detail with a video that I posted for the students for whom this was actually the first time for them doing it. I walked through the steps. Let me get rid of some of these windows. And I sent you a link to a video. So none of this should be a mystery at this point. So let's see if we can put, oops, that's the wrong thing. Let's put M17. I don't know if this is even the right diagnosis code at this point, but for example, we put the diagnosis code there, okay? And for the radiology visits, because as you scroll through the super bill, each one of these numbers actually represents a page of the super bill. And what will happen in this case with this clinic is you don't have on this fee schedule, you do not have fees, and you do not have the CPT codes for the radiology codes that you're using for Hidden Cities 3. Hence, you have a Hidden Cities fee schedule, and you have in which you can reference the radiology codes and the fees. So in reviewing again let's see, this is another part of it. Where you would put, in reviewing again how to enter the charges, this is the same thing that we have to sort of we have to be creative with. So because I know that there are no radiology charges that within SimChart for the super bills that you're posting, what you're going to have to do is go down to the office visit and post the radiology charge. The CPT code, let's say 77067 for 187. 77067, and the fee is going to be 187. That's how you're going to do it. You're going to save it, move on to the next page, and there's nothing that you have to add, because all of these, remember, everything that you see on all of these pages of the electronic super bill relate to charges that would be in Walden Martin Clinic, but not what you're doing. And rarely, I think two exceptions are office visits and the dermatology clinic, in which you actually could find some of the codes. But essentially, all you're going to do with the remaining pages of the super bill is save them and scroll through to the last page. And as you can see, 187 for the visit. All right, this is what we're charging. And you have to review your super bill to make sure that all of the appropriate boxes are checked, because these are the things, especially if these boxes have red asterisks on them. You don't necessarily, unless it has a red asterisk, you can check that because you're going to have to create it. Always check I'm ready to submit the super bill. Always check where there are red asterisks, and always indicate the date. Today's the 23rd. And make sure it'll let you know if you've missed something, because it won't let you save it. You can save the super bill. If there's something wrong, it'll tell you something's wrong, and then you can submit the super bill. And it's done. Okay? Now, as far as posting payments, one of the things that I'd like to point out to you, and again, this won't be, I'm going to select this. This won't be precise as to what let's see. It won't be precise as to the super bill that I just posted, but I did want to point as far as posting your explanations of benefits. So let me pull one out. With the explanations of benefits, as you know, you have to post across the board. All right. So in this sample scenario that I have here, you have dates of service 7/13 from a previous demonstration that I did, and you have a visit, and you have other codes here. You have other charges. All right. And all the charges equal that much money, mainly because I've been putting them in and practicing. Keep in mind that when you're posting an explanation of benefits, that part of the explanation of benefits is going to require that you, and let me pull this out. Part of the explanation of benefits is going to require, depending upon what you're posting, let's open this up. And I understand that many of you have not really been exposed to this, so I understand, but you haven't been exposed to this hands-on in the classroom, but I'm still going to explain it, although I understand that. And I'm going to explain it because it's really important that you understand how explanation of benefits works. So an explanation of benefits is something that you receive from the insurance company once you've been paid. And most of you are aware of what this are because you went through the program, and specifically, I think in chapter 14 of Fordney's, the example sheet that I gave out last week, or that I showed you last week, and that I've been doing for most of the sessions, where I'm referencing your resource material, your books. It talks about what an explanation of benefits is. And essentially, all explanation of benefits are laid out the same, but in some cases, the information is not precisely as it would be on another explanation of benefits. So, for example, for this patient, what we billed, okay, for this patient is $2,000. Let's go back. We submitted a charge for $2,000 on one line and then $1,300 on another for some x-rays. What the insurance company allowed was not this much money. They only allowed, because of contract, they only allowed for $258.18 and $209.75. All right. Elements of the explanation of benefits that you have to pay attention to are what was charged, what was allowed, if anything was applied to the deductible, if the patient has a co-insurance amount, and meaning what their responsibility is. It's either a co-payment or co-insurance. All of us have experienced this if we have insurance, and ultimately who got paid, right? And the amount that was paid. If you look at this example of the explanation of benefits that you're looking at now, in this case, for this patient, who happens to be, who is the patient actually? Oh, Jack Eichers. Okay. In this case, for this patient, the charge was $2,000, but the allowed amount was only $258. So let's experiment a little bit. $74170. I'm going to write this down. $74170. The doctor billed out at $2,000, which is this amount you see comes from your super bills. 72193 as posted from the super bill is $1,300. So just for the sake of demonstrating, I'm going to put these amounts in, and I believe it was for 714. I'm actually going to delete all of this so that it doesn't look funny in the end, so that the balances make sense that you're seeing. And again, just as a reminder, what you see on the screen is a file that I actually use to demonstrate posting payments. So it is not necessarily a file that it doesn't necessarily reflect exactly what you're going to be doing, although some parts of it will. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the CPT codes and make sure that at the bottom, just for the sake of demonstration, we don't have a ledger balance. So what I'm doing now to demonstrate is I'm going to add the CPT codes that you're going to take from the super bill. 74170. The charge for that is $2,000. Okay, and I'm also going to put down the second CPT code that we saw on the explanation of benefits, but of course you're going to be getting this from the super bill. The second CPT code is 72193, and the charge for that from the super bill is going to be, let's just put this here, $1,300. Okay, now what we're and the total amount that we billed the insurance company is $3,300. Okay, that's what the balance is. Now, in looking at the explanation of benefits, and you can see that this charge matches. In looking at the explanation of benefits, however, what I pointed out previously is that the allowed amount is very different from the charge amount. So make a note, write this down, that when there's a difference between what was submitted and what is allowed, it is necessary for you to subtract the difference between the two. And that difference that you subtract is going to be adjusted off. Who needs further explanation about that? Does anyone online need an explanation about what this is?
Do you put the adjustment number right there, or?
Yes, you put the amount right there. Now, so let's do the math. Can somebody help me out with the math for this? If you have I have a calculator, but just trying to speed things up. So, for example, with the first charge, okay, the first charge is $2,000. Okay, let's look at the explanation of benefits. The amount allowed is $258.18, right? Okay, so I'm going to subtract $258.18. The reason I do that is because we have to write off everything but $258.18 because the insurance company didn't allow it. And the amount that I came up with was $1,741.82. Did anybody else do this calculation? Thumbs up in the chat box if you did. Okay, what you're going to do with that amount is put a minus sign in the adjustment column. In real life, you won't have to do this in an electronic health record system because in most electronic health records practice management system, it automatically does the adjustment for you. So we're going to subtract 1,741.82 for this line. Okay. And we're going to make a payment here. Oh, what is this? This is all wrong. 1,741.82 and click out of the box. Okay. The payment amount was $258. I have a feeling something's wrong with this explanation, but $258.18. $258.18. If you check your explanation of benefits, you always have to make sure that the amount remaining is based on either a co-insurance amount or a co-payment amount, which would in reality be due by the patient. In this case, there is no co-payment or co-insurance amount here, which means that at the end of the ledger line, there should be no balance. Do you understand, Rosie, what we did? I can't hear you. Unmute yourself.
I think I'm getting it, yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, it's just it's straight math. That's all. All right. And so just remember, always subtract the difference between what was billed from the amount that was allowed. And that amount would be what you adjust off because you don't want to consider it anymore. And likewise, for the second line of $1,300, if we look at the explanation of benefits, what was allowed was $209.75. So what I'm going to do is the math. Okay, we have $1,300 minus $209.75. The adjustment amount that I came up with was $1,090.25. Is that what you came up with, Rosie, or is anybody? Hopefully y'all are paying attention to this and you care enough about it to pay attention. So what I'm going to do is put in 1,090.25 as the adjustment amount, and remember, always put a minus. Okay, you have $209.75, which is actually what the payment was for that line. And when you post the payment, and also note that the patient does not have a balance, $209.75, and this balances out with the explanation of benefits. The patient doesn't owe anything there, and the patient doesn't owe anything there. That's how you post payments. Does anybody have any questions about what I just did?
No.
Okay, good. And then you just save it, and again, of course, this is what when you print this up, is when I know that you have unsaved data will not display. Please save your data. So let's go back here and save it. I thought I saved. And this is where you print your PDFs. This is what I'm looking at when I'm looking at what you did. All right, to make sure that these don't count because these are just things that I was using as an experiment, but this is what you have to do. It didn't save it for me, but this is what you have to print and put in the Dropbox. Does anybody have any questions?
Before you started explaining the steps, you said you have a link up of a video you had already recorded previously. Where can we find that link?
Who's speaking?
Alicia?
Alicia, okay. I thought I sent this to you.
No, I never. The only thing I received was the
okay. I'll have to
agenda.
send it to you because it's only available to people who did the orientation. But I'll send it to you.
Okay. Yeah, because the only thing I got was the agenda that you emailed me. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. I will definitely. I'll send it to you. But by now, if you've gotten through everything, you pretty much know. This particular, the orientation that I'm doing now, I am actually going to be uploading this to YouTube, and I'll send everybody a link. So, Alicia, are you saying that I'm going to stop?